Baschamania 211, Basch The Brain. We're back after me only sending, I don't know, a couple hundred text messages. And, you know, what do you do when I text you and I'm like, yo, we doing a show today? And you're like, yes. And then you just disappear.
Dude, Super 32 broke me, man. Super 32 broke me. It turned into like a 10-day full-time job where all I did was answer emails and change the seatings around. And I enjoyed it, but I ain't gonna lie, it broke me. By the time I got there, I felt like my job was done. Friday night, after weigh-ins, when the seating was all done, I don't remember a time that I felt such relief in wrestling. Actually, the one time, the who's number one at Carver, I would always get nervous before who's number one, but the who's number one at Carver, there was so much going on, and then we ended up changing. I ended up like telling the production team we should do it like this, and this is how it should go, and I should be in the back, and I should anyway. When that who's number one was over, I felt like a weight was lifted off me, and that's how I felt at Super 32 this year. And so yeah, I haven't done a show yet. People are like checking in on me, like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I was just beat, man.
I know, and you're in such a unique place where I was telling my wife yesterday, because I'm like, I'm doing a show with Carter and then maybe with Willie, and she's like, what do you mean maybe with Willie? I'm like, I don't know. Like, especially after the Commanders, lose to the Eagles, he might just be wallowing.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So, but we're good. We got a bunch of random topics. I want to primarily focus on college and senior level. So many tidbits have popped up in the last month that I think we're going to be able to start getting into a nice cadence now, where as the season's here, competition's here, there's going to start being a lot to talk about on a regular basis versus just piecing all these random things together. But there's a lot of different topics that we haven't really discussed in detail. And I still am waiting for the Crystal Ball rankings to come out so that we can do a Crystal Ball preview show.
Well, there's going to be, I'm really excited now. I feel like, I got through Super 32, took a bit of a rest, although it wasn't that much of a rest. I just finished high school rankings, but I feel like now I'm back and like really excited to talk about college. We had a bunch of Wrestle-offs this week. A lot of them streamed, some of them not, which was unfortunate, but a lot of them streamed, which kind of just got me right back into things and starting to think about college lineups and the pecking orders and Crystal Ball. And, each week, I started Crystal Ball off as like an exercise in just, I wanted to see what the results are, but it really took on, people liked it. So
it's fun. It's different. Like, rankings are fun. I like rankings from a standpoint of simply just, they make viewership easier because you can see this guy's ranked 1, this guy's ranked 10. This is what you're expecting. If you don't have rankings, it's hard to know without being a diehard and basically in your head doing rankings, who's a 1 and a 2, who's a 23, so I like the rankings, but the Crystal Ball is fun because you can kind of track it throughout the year.
Yeah, and it's like, it's tough to put, like, rankings provides context and it should be process driven, but there's certain rules that prevent you from, there's certain procedures, right, that prevent you from putting people where not you think they'll be at the end of the year, right? And so, yeah, sure, you could rank Meyer Shapiro 10th, but it's sort of disingenuous, and it doesn't give you the picture of what the team scores are going to look like at the end. And so the Crystal Ball allows for a little creativity and a little breaking of the rules, and it's really fun. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
You want to talk college first or some senior level stuff first? You tell me.
Well, one thing about the Crystal Ball, though, this year is really problematic because one of the major players, and each week that would go by in August, September, October, each week that would go by, I would be like, man, I should have done Crystal Ball. No, I shouldn't. Yeah, I should. People want it. But
you don't rush it though either.
One of the major players is Iowa, and until there's clarity on that, it's just almost useless.
I think you still rank them. I think you still put them in, and if they don't, which I guess we'll start there. We'll start with Iowa. You know, a couple of the guys have started to really come out and say basically, hey, I gambled. I didn't realize it was a big deal. I saw the draft duel, deposit $5, get $200 in bets. You know, I withdrew $400. And it sounds like there's a lot of pushback, and now they might be able to compete again. But as of, you know, the other day, yesterday, whenever Brands did a press conference, and it sounds like November 8th is going to be the decision.
Yeah, November 8th. So, you know, it's pretty late, but at least when as soon as we get a ruling on that, I'll do crystal ball. As soon as we get a ruling on that. And, you know, I hope they get a chance to wrestle. I hope they all get a chance to wrestle, the Iowa guys. And I don't know what's going on with the Iowa State guys, but, you know, them too. I hope everybody gets a chance to wrestle. But, you know, NCAA is so wishy-washy. It's like,
we should definitely do a crystal ball show the day you release them, and we'll go through them.
Absolutely.
So Iowa, a couple notes on Iowa. Gambling suspension still up in the air, but it sounds like they're leaning towards loosening the punishments and letting these guys compete. And it's not just wrestling, but Iowa fans, if I'm an Iowa fan, I'd be hopeful these guys are going to compete.
Yeah. And it sounded like, I mean, it's been so, Abe Assad said it in an article. It's been a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine. I can't imagine what it's been like for the athletes themselves. Bad news, good news. We're done. Wait, there's a chance. I can imagine what it's like for those guys. And, you know, for the fans too, it's like up in the air. And I just want finality. And I'm sure they want finality.
Are you?
But
Go ahead.
They're in flux, right? So we got the Iowa guys in flux. We have to figure out who's going to be eligible there or not. Some of the Iowa State guys. There's been some wrestle-offs. You know, Brock Mahler from Missouri wrestled up at 57. And there's so you know, he's a top 8 guy at 49. But he wrestled up at 57, and there's some mixed reviews about if he's going to stay at 57, where they also have Cam Steed, or if he's going to go 149, eventually make his way down to 149. So that's a major thing. Nebraska is now without Owen Pence. Owen Pence was a transfer from North Dakota State. He was supposed to wrestle heavyweight this year. He has left school, so it'll be Harley Anderson. So that's an update in a roster. Van D beat Berwick in those wrestle-offs, so Van D right now is the starter for Nebraska at 33, not Kyle Berwick, who was also a transfer.
Etchemendia beating Swiderski, pretty big.
Swiderski, there were the two Frost brothers, both won their wrestle-offs at 33 and 41 for Iowa State, so that's some updated lineup stuff.
Do you think that people were DMing and asking, and I'm like, I honestly don't know. We're getting to a point to where it seems like the wrestle-offs aren't everything for making a team. Like Etchemendia beating Swiderski doesn't necessarily mean Etchemendia is going to start. What's your take on that?
What's my thoughts on wrestle-offs not meaning everything? I agree with that. I mean, wrestle-offs, one bout should not mean everything. There was a few years back, you know, Ian Paddock beat Hunter Stieber in the wrestle-offs at Ohio State, and Hunter Stieber was clear. I mean, he was clearly the better guy holistically.
Shout out Section 5, New York State, Ian Paddock.
Yeah. Johnny Thompson for Oklahoma State was a NCAA champion and lost his wrestle-off. Right, his public wrestle-off, and
I've heard some crazy Penn State wrestle-offs that happened that were just like, it's like, okay, yeah, you won the wrestle-off, and now it's like, okay, you know, you guys both go to this tournament, and you know, it's
sure.
Yeah,
there was one year I remember at Super 32 one year there was a buzz going through the building. I don't know if it's through the building, but there, you know, I sit up in this media thing, and there's like all these college coaches come up and hang out, right? And amongst the college coaches the one year, there was a buzz like, I think it was Kassar and Rashid and somebody. And the night before, there was Wrestle-offs in the room, and somebody lost. That was, at the time, it was surprising. And so there was a buzz about that. And so there's the public Wrestle-offs, and then there's in the room Wrestle-offs, and some of them are kind of hidden from view and like wholesale public knowledge. Like Lehigh had the Wrestle-offs the other night, and the Wrestle-off that everybody wants to know, McGonigal and Crookham, they didn't have on the card. So
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
they
so
saved
McGonigal,
that just for the practice room.
Yeah, and Lehigh does that all the time. Like they'll have public Wrestle-offs, but the ones that are like the most crucial, they don't put public. The Lehigh always does that. So for context, McGonigal was like, at some points he was a top 5 guy in the rankings last year, and then he got hurt. And Crookham, Crookham's like one of the blue chip recruits. He won Super 32 as an 8th grader at 113, and so that's the Wrestle-off everybody wants to see. And McGonigal's in the All-Star Classic. McGonigal's in the All-Star Classic, and yet his roster spot is like, that's a thing.
All-Star Classic was another Iowa point I had, that, no Iowa guys this year at the All-Star Classic. And I don't know if it's because of some of their guys in limbo. Obviously some of the guys
I didn't realize that.
Tony Cassiope, some of these guys that could be contenders. A lot of Penn State.
You would assume Real turned it down, or?
I would assume so, yeah. I know a couple Penn State guys did. Carter said 8 guys were invited. I think Bo and Bartlett and Nagao both turned it down. But the comments are funny. I talked about this on the show yesterday with Carter, but it's like people are saying, oh, this is like a Penn State duel. Well, it's an All-Star Classic, and all 6 Penn State guys that are wrestling are 1 or 2 in the country. It's not like they're 5th just being added to the card. Greg Kirkfleet, 1. Brooks, 1. Carter, 1. Bernie, 2. Levi Haynes, 1. Shane Van Ness, 2. So it's like, that's what happens.
Who's Shane got?
Shane Van Ness is wrestling Kyle Parko.
I wonder why Ridge turned it. Is Ridge 1?
I think he's 1. Shane's 2. Kyle's 3.
College wrestling is so incredible, man. You realize at this time last year, a lot of polls had Brayton Lee ranked number 1.
This is why I like Crystal Ball too, because you can add in, like you said, guys that don't really have justification for rankings, but also what you think could be versus just some of these weights are going to be wild this year. It's going to be really fun. Maybe when we do the Crystal Ball show, we'll do kind of a season preview along with that, because that's kind of previewing how the season's going to go. Another lineup note I had, kind of in line with the Wrestle-offs, it looks like Austin Gomez is going to be competing for Michigan this season.
It's an incredible...
I didn't have that on my bingo card.
There were overtures about it. There were overtures, but I didn't think it was going to happen for one reason. So when Austin said he was, hanging it up and just focusing on senior level, I thought, okay, that makes a lot of sense because he graduated, and not surprising to me. And then he said he was going to Cliff Keen, and I was like, hold up.
Well, the Cliff Keen made sense for me because wrestling internationally. Wrestling for Mexico, Cliff Keen and Michigan have a lot of guys wrestling for other countries. So that is the one thing where I said, well, it makes sense. I'm like, they've kind of got a system down where I'd say they're the largest hub in the U.S. of guys who compete for other countries. So from that standpoint, with him wrestling, it made sense, not wrestling for the U.S.
But when he announced he was going to Cliff Keen, I said, there's a chance. There's a chance he wrestles for Michigan. I don't think it'll happen. And here's why I didn't think it would happen. Because he told me, I talked to him I'm relatively close with them. His sister was wrestling in Italy at Cadet Worlds last year, and he was there. And so, I spent a lot of time with him. And I knew that he wasn't down with the school stuff, right? And the same thing with Gable. Like, Gable don't want to be in class.
That's what Carter said yesterday. It's like, these people think I want to come back for number 5 if I win number 4. It's like, man, I don't really want to be in school for another year. Like,
you don't want to be in class, right? So there's 2 things about that. Number 1, I didn't think ultimately, I knew there was a chance. I didn't think ultimately Austin would do that because I didn't think he wanted to be in school. However, I was wrong. He is coming back, and there is sort of a loophole, man. And you see it in basketball all the time. When these one and done guys do it, as long as you go to class and get grades, and basketball is a little different because, and football, because they have tutors that just do the work for you and keep you eligible. I mean, you don't have to do anything. But second semester, you don't have to do anything. If they rule you like academically ineligible for the next semester, who cares? You're gone. So Austin can go enroll in classes, and mind you, it's a graduate program, so it's like 2 classes is full time in graduate school. Right. So you enroll in 2 classes, you go to class a couple times, and then you don't have to ever go again. Right? It's a ruse.
Good point.
You don't have to. Austin, some kids don't like being in class and going to school, and they're totally over the school thing. In your last semester, you don't have to go. It's fake.
Fake news, folks. Fake news.
It's fake. So in that regard, it kind of makes a little sense.
Another lineup note.
And
what?
With Michigan, I mean, it goes without saying. I'm not breaking any news here, but it's just incredible. The transfers that Michigan has.
Half the lineup is going to be,
half a lineup of transfer All-Americans, not just transfers. Transfer All-Americans.
Well, and a large part of that is the Northwestern train that graduated and hopped over, because you have DiAgostino, Chris Cannon, Lucas Davison. So 3 out of those 4 guys coming right from, or 3 out of those 5 guys coming right from Northwestern, kind of all together. Shane Griffith, who, I think it was between like really Michigan and Rutgers. And then you have now Gomez. But it is funny, like, one of the reasons I like looking at rankings or crystal ball, sometimes you forget in this day and age where people are. You start previewing dual meets, and, and if you forget like where somebody's going or what transfer, like I think I was talking to somebody about Iowa State, and we're talking 57. I'm like frantic, like you forget some of these things happened back in March, April, May.
Yeah, that's one thing that I kind of said from Jump Street is, a major attraction and to keep people glued to pro sports, basketball, football, baseball, is the waiver wire, is off-season trades, off-season free agent signings, the free agent period. And NCAA sports really didn't have that, and now they do. And so it gives us something to stay, keep our attention in the quote-unquote off-season.
Speaking of off-season transfers, I don't think we've talked about this on a show. Earlier in October, AJ Ferrari, his court case is dismissed.
Yep.
Lot of potential. It sounds like if he competes this year, it's Iowa.
Yeah, and that's another one. That's another really weird one for the crystal ball, because at one time, if you thought Cass wasn't coming back, then you plug in AJ potentially at heavyweight. Now you have to wonder, is AJ going to come back second semester? If he does, he's not going to take Cass's spot, Cass's senior year. So can he make 97? So maybe you plug him in at 97. Maybe he doesn't come back this year at all and comes back the following season and wrestles heavyweight. So there's a lot of moving parts just in that one scenario.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. I mean, he's got 3 years of eligibility left, so it's not like, which is crazy to think about. You know what I mean? But you got 3 years. He looks like he's in the same shape as when he was at 97. It doesn't look like he's bulked up too much. I mean, he's obviously absolutely shredded, but it doesn't look like at any point he was necessarily trying to bulk where heavyweight could potentially make sense. So I could see 97.
Mixed messages there too. Because I agree with you. He doesn't look significantly bigger than what he did 2 years ago when he wrestled 197. However, seconds upon winning his title at 97, he's teasing the audience at NCAA saying he'll go up next year and wrestle heavyweight. And so you had to start thinking, oh, is he growing out at 97? Now, right after that, I had talked to people because he would go on to wrestle 97. Did he wrestle 97 or 92 at trial? I guess it was an Olympic trial, so it was 97, right? So he goes on and wrestles 97 at Olympic trials. And I was talking to some people, and I said, is he really going to go up to heavyweight? And they were like, man, no. If this wasn't Olympic trials, he'd wrestle 92. He's not even that big. So I don't know. I don't see him on a scale every day, but it's a fascinating and a major part of the NCAA landscape this year and for the next couple years on A, if AJ is coming back, B, at what weight.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things that I'm sure, he's not talking too much about because I'm sure a lot of it's in limbo. He's as active as anybody on social media, and there's not a lot of hints or not a lot of, Gable, for example, likes to tease things in the Minnesota room, in the Iowa room. Like, he's very good at trying to keep people engaged. AJ shares a lot of working out content, a lot of fitness content. It's not a lot that gives you insight into what could be happening. And obviously both of his brothers committed to Iowa gives you at least a push towards one of the reasons he'd landed Iowa.
Right. And he's been there a couple times, right? According to his social media.
Yeah. But who knows if that's just with his brother's training or if that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy side tidbit that I tweeted out as I was preparing for the Carter episode. Do you know that last year we had 2 going for number 4, and this year we're going to get it again? There was a lot of questions about would Carter take a red shirt? Would Brooks take a red shirt? Neither are taking a red shirt. They're both wrestling. And if you want to hear more from Carter, I just had Carter on yesterday. That was an awesome episode. We spoke for an hour about his decision to come back. He wasn't going to, or he was at least, hemming and hawing over it, decided to come back for one more year. And he's fired up.
So two things there. One, AB kind of got screwed because I was there when he was a true freshman. And I was there for his first duel. His first college match ever was at Lehigh. In fact, I did an interview with him right after that. But then, a month later, the season was canceled. Or no, that season was canceled, right?
He took a loss to Taylor Vance.
I was at that
year. And
yep,
but then he won. Then he won Big Tens and was the 3 seed headed into NCAA's. But he had avenged his loss. He lost to Taylor Vance in the duel 9-5, but then he pinned him in the Big Ten semis.
Yeah. So I guess my point is if AB redshirts that year, he could go for 5. Right? If he that because the next season wouldn't have counted, and he could have went for 5. So if AB would have redshirted that year, Carter and AB could have been going for the 5th in the same lineup in the same year.
It's crazy.
Number one. Number two, I watched the Zane interview. I did not get a chance to see this, to watch the Carter interview yet, but I find it abundantly difficult to believe he wouldn't come back for his 5th.
I think it depends on MMA. I think it largely depends on what does he want to do. If somebody locks him into a contract next March, if he goes undefeated this year, wins his 4th, he's going to be as big of a prospect, if not bigger, than Bo Nickel was coming out of wrestling. And does somebody lock him into a contract right then and there that prohibits him from coming back?
I just think in this sport, wrestling people are.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Like, I could see it go. You go win 4 and you can make history. I would never count him out from doing that.
Very analytic, and if you can put 5-timer only person to do it, probably only person that will ever have a chance to do it. I find that really difficult to pass up, especially in a world where there's NLI and somebody could say, here is $500,000. Wrestle second semester.
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't. I think you're spot on. I don't think even if Carter is 100% not doing it right now, I think until he wins a 4th. I mean, here's the other thing: if he doesn't win a 4th, I don't think there's any shot he comes back to try to win a 4th. So I think you got to kind of let the season play out, let the Olympic trials play out.
I feel differently. I think if he would lose in the NCAA finals, I think he's done. If he wins, I think he's coming back.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if he lost, I don't think he'd come back to try to win his 4th.
And there was a really great quote in the Zane interview where Kale says something about
the flowers.
The flowers. When you know the flower's nice and pretty and you got it, but it that flower fades away pretty quick, and so I think overall Kale gives some really good perspective to his athletes upon regarding winning and rebounding, winning and then reset, refocus.
What did you make of Zane not committing for another month to going up or down?
I think it's great. I think he needs to, we had this discussion before and it's a big decision and I think it's good for him to soak it all in and give it another month, right? He doesn't have to decide he's a world champ. He doesn't have to decide for 4 months, really. I mean,
he's not weighing in until the Olympic trials. Right. He's already said that.
Right. So he doesn't have to concern himself with the weight until he has all the information and he has all the feelings upon the subject. So I think it's good.
Couple other random college tidbits. It is pretty cool that for the first time ever, ESPN is going to have a regular season dual meet on their main ESPN channel, as they're going to have the Iowa State duel that Sunday after November on ESPN. That's super cool. That is, and your UFC Fight Pass getting involved.
Mm-hmm. It is super cool. But it set off a bell to me when I saw it come out, which is a great thing. And then you start thinking about, well, why doesn't ESPN have more of these? And the trigger it set me is like, well, most of the premier duels, those rights are owned by Big Ten Network, right? Number one. Number two, if you're going to do it, and other networks, right? Let's say Arizona State, Penn State, or some big dual meet at Arizona State, right? Pac-12 Network owns those rights. So ESPN's sort of handcuffed and not just ESPN, me, right? If I want to stream a college duel, if UFC Fight Pass wants to stream a duel. Flow, ESPN. We're all sort of handcuffed in these rights that you have. If it's on a Big Ten campus, it's you can't get it. You have to go off campus. So those are there is a reason why ESPN doesn't air more of the big premier.
And it's not big enough yet where they can bid on and get to a system. It just doesn't make sense where it's like, obviously the big networks have college football and you don't see Ohio State, Penn State on the Big Ten network. Wrestling's just not there for that demand where a network wants to come in and buy those. So you do have to, like you said, kind of handpick what you can get because you're handcuffed by the rest. But it's cool that, ESPN could have very easily taken that. Listen, if we can't have, Penn State, Iowa, and the top duel of the season, we don't want any. Cyhawk duel is not only a great duel, but it's.
I'll tell you what, one that I'm happy about, or like I'm really interested in, is going to be on UFC Fight Pass. It's Campbell in Wyoming, like in a barn in Wyoming. I'm going down. I'm going down for that. It looks.
They
really
got
cool.
already UFC Fight Pass this week. I mean, they announced that CFFC is going to be having duels all season. I posted the whole schedule. I reshared it that they posted. It already starts Wednesday with Campbell and West Point, and they got Shane Sparks and David Taylor on the call. Like they seem all in.
Yeah. It's interesting the route that UFC Fight Pass is going. I know Rob Eiter, the former Penn coach, former world team member. Will Rob make an Olympic team? Anyway, he is involved in targeting some of the events now. But they also had a shot at the. They're I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their strategy is. They had a shot at the NC State Oklahoma State duel in Sicily, and they sort of backed off of it. And so I don't know.
Can you give me your opinion on the Sicily thing? I don't like it. I don't know
why. I love it.
It's the same reason I don't like the NFL games in London. I just don't understand like the reasoning behind it. Like,
I'll tell you what the reason
it's not just college wrestling. It's sports in general doing the international thing. I don't get it.
I'll tell you what the rationale is for it. The rationale is it's not for you. It's not for a fan. It's for the kids. They get to experience something different. It's New Year's, Christmas time, and they're not going to a tournament where they get beat up, wrestle 100 matches, and they see some third-rate city in freezing cold.
Sure.
They're number one. Number two, they're both Guidos like me, right? You got Pat Popolizio. You got John Smith. They're going to go over there, going to drink wine and eat really good bread and pasta, and they're going to
You're going out there, I'm assuming, for that, right?
You know what? I was, but I think
not the passport.
No, I got the passport. Passport's fine. I'm supposed to go. And I really, really want to go. You know what they're doing? They're going to Sicily, and they're going to spend time at this one area. You should see the resort. It's so cool. And then the Navy base where they're going to wrestle is actually an hour away. And so they're driving to the thing, and then they're going to wrestle there. And they're going to go back to the resort. Then both teams are going to Rome for New Year's Eve.
That's pretty cool. Dude,
cool. I want to do that. I want to be with them. But I got something going on. I might have an event around that time, so I don't know if
you want to give any details on that.
Oh, it's a high school thing.
You're gonna stream it on Rokfin?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm working on. Yeah,
the big one, Clovis Buchanan.
Not the big one. I hope to have that too, but that's
is that January? Yeah, it's January.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think, like you said, for the athletes, I think it can be a fun experience to get an excuse for those who maybe don't know. Oklahoma State is wrestling NC State in Italy the day before New Year's Eve at the end of this year. So it is cool. It's just like
it's really cool. You know, they did it before in Naples. I think 4 years ago, and I think one of their objectives is like to like every class, maybe every 4 or 5 years, to give their kids a trip, right? To give a really cool experience, international trip. And they did it, I don't know, 2016, 2017, 2018, something like that. And I went with them, Naples, and go on Flow and look at the clips, right? Like we went through the ruins of Pompeii with John Smith and the Okie State team. We went to one of their Major League Soccer games with, you know, I was with the NC State guys, and that was an experience. I mean, they get to do some really cool stuff.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's a cool experience for them. The NFL in London drives me freaking nuts.
There's one in Germany this weekend.
Yeah. Chiefs Dolphins after the Broncos kicked the crap out of the Chiefs. That'll be a good game. We'll see. I feel like all these NFL games overseas have an asterisk. Like all people talk about is, well, this team went out on Monday, this team went out on Thursday, so the team who went out on Monday is going to kick the crap out of the team who goes out on Thursday.
Are you crying because the Bills got their tails whipped over there?
Yes.
Yes. There was one team this year that played 2 back-to-back games,
Jaguars.
And they just stayed over there for 2 weeks.
The Jaguars, and they won both those games. They won the first week, and then they beat the Bills the next week.
Oh, that's who beat the Bills? So that was a lot of bit unfair.
Yeah. Speaking of international, I guess random. I told you the show's gonna be all over the place. I just want.
I'm so happy to be able to talk wrestling again.
I want your opinion. I don't know if you're gonna say who cares or go on a tirade. That's why it's always fun to throw random topics at you. The news broke last week that they're adding flag football to the Olympics. And as I'm sitting, for those listening to the audio version, his eyes are doing like crazy things. I'm having these conversations like the one you heard with Zane, you know, having to make these tough decisions to go up or down. And at the same time, as I'm preparing for the Zane interview and these other things, it's like flag football, breaking, these other things being added to the Olympics. And it's like, what are we doing? Are we not fighting for more weights? Are we not just getting them? Like, what was your reaction to seeing the flag football being added?
Unfortunately, my reaction was not surprised because the Olympics kind of sold their soul. It's not a, you know, some people say, well, you got to keep up the date. You have to keep up to date. You got to keep it fresh. I mean, no, you don't. I mean, these sports I don't even know why they have basketball. Like when they started like letting pros in, like what's the point? We already have that. It's called the NBA. Why is professional?
It's funny too because their world team stinks. Like they'll lose a game they have no business of USA basketball losing. It's just the pageantry of the Olympics where the NBA guys come out.
Right, and they said something. Did you see the reaction on Twitter when they said flag football and it's going to be open to United States pros, and Roger Goodell is very much endorsing that the pros participate in it. And there was like all these memes and threads and like Derrick Henry running the ball against I don't know, Taiwan or something. Like, oh my God.
Well, there was, I don't know if it was Tyreek Hill. It was somebody who was like rattled off what his team needed to be for him to go. And it was like, I want Brady at quarterback. I want Randy Moss as wide receiver. Like whatever the list was, I was cracking up.
And you know, it's sort of a joke. And we can have flag football. And I don't know if they have video games yet, but they'll have video games soon enough. You'll have esports in the Olympics. And we can't get 10 weights for the original sport. You know, we can't get 10 weights for the original sport. And another thing that really ticks me off is like the viewership for the Winter Games is at an all-time low.
Oh, it's abysmal.
It's really at an all-time low. And I think if you put wrestling in there, two things could happen. You could get a shot in the arm, viewership wise. It could butter both sides of the bread. It could help the Olympics by getting more viewership for the Winter Games. This is if you put wrestling in the Winter Games. It would help the viewership because you'd have a traditional sport in there, and it would help wrestling because it wouldn't be as lost in the track and field and the basketball and all that. And to that, the rebuttal is, well, it's not really a winter sport. It doesn't have anything to do with snow or ice. Like, okay, you talk about evolving and having esports and BMX and flag football, but you don't talk about evolving and just saying, okay, it doesn't necessarily have to do with snow and ice. You know, when you talk about snow and ice, like, first things first, in this world that's trying to be ultra inclusive, and everybody compete, everybody fair shot. When you talk about, if to be in the Winter Olympics, you have to have something, it has to have a relationship to snow and ice. All right, you just alienated like half the globe, because Africa, India, Australia, they ain't competing.
It's also interesting that from a storyline standpoint, the U.S. with 10 weights, especially men's freestyle, would get so much more attention, because think about how many more stars we would have there, where you're talking about, imagine if the lineup is Dake Burroughs Taylor, Jaden Snyder. Like, you're able to have more of our stars. It's not like you're going to slide in guys that there's no storylines for. You're talking the potential of 79 kilos in Olympic weight, and Jordan goes to 79 kilos. Now you get the storylines of both Dake and Burroughs. Like,
100%. And don't make, don't get it twisted. I mean, here's another scenario that people talk about is like, well, if you remove Greco, Americans talk about removing Greco because the United States isn't very good in Greco and it's not very popular. But you know what? It's not all about what the Americans think. It's about worldwide popularity. Don't get it twisted. America and their proclivities, their tastes have a major impact in viewership of the
100%.
Olympics. It is a major factor. So don't tell me that Sweden's a big, Greco's huge in Sweden. That doesn't register. It doesn't register with the freaking viewership of the Olympics.
Well, and not just that, because I've had some of those conversations. There's some people offline I've had great conversations with that, they make the argument for Greco. And when the argument that it's more of a U.S.'s bats, so don't cut it, go look at the UWW numbers when they're posting freestyle versus Greco. Go look at their worldwide fan base and look at what the numbers are for freestyle versus Greco. It's not just U.S. isn't very good at it. It's not just like, there's a lot of things. You can't go to college and do Greco. You can't go to high school and sign up for your wrestling team and do Greco. So there's a lot more to it than just, the U.S. isn't good at it.
That's an American slant, too, because you're talking about what you can do in America. The bottom line is, go look at viewership numbers, go look at social media numbers, freestyle wins, and, there's no rebuttal. I don't care how much of a diehard you are. There's no rebuttal to freestyle is more exciting. Just look at the numbers. Look at the scoring numbers. Like the numbers, the numbers in the Olympics of points scored in Greco are almost all forced. They're almost all handouts. So they score at a bleedingly slow pace. Most of the points are fake points. There's no rebuttal to which style is more exciting and aesthetically pleasing.
Agreed. Another topic on weights, Jordan Burroughs officially down to 74 kilos. He's wrestling this weekend in Kazakhstan. Him and Yanni and McKenna are both going at 65 kilos as well. I was an advocate for Jordan going up at 35 years old. I think it would make more sense to go up for your final season than cut down when you have 4 kids and you have a legacy established. But, you know, he wants to go 74. It's official now. He's going 74. He's wrestling this weekend. Right. And I like that he's active. I mean, he's wrestling in Kazakhstan in the first week of November. It's been a while since we've seen that.
Right decision. It's the right decision. And I don't know. I just think down is better. And the objective is to, it's the same thing with Zane. To me, the objective is to win, not to participate. To win.
No, I agree. It's just, it's, I'm 37 years old. The thought of, you know, Jordan's 35. The thought of like, and he's an elite level athlete. I'm not, obviously. But the thought of like what he has to go to cut down. And it's like 74. Look at the NLWC alone. Carter told me yesterday in the podcast he's going 74 too. In the NLWC room alone, you've got Carter, Nolf, and Dake. Beating those 3 guys in a row is crazy for anyone, let alone somebody who's, you know, hasn't cut down to that weight in a while. So it's just, it's one of those things where I don't know. I think there's more competition at 74 than I do 86. He obviously disagrees with me. You know, he's going 74.
I disagree with you too. I think it's a tougher road. I mean, 74 is undoubtedly more loaded with names and bodies and talent. But you would have to be. The objective isn't to win a couple matches. The objective, frankly, is not just to make the team. The objective is to win the Olympics.
Well, I've already said it. At 74 and 86 especially, I think whoever wins the Olympic trials wins Olympic gold.
Wait, at 86?
86 and 74.
I mean, you put Jordan next to David Taylor and Yazdani Charati. Those guys are monsters.
David Taylor and Burroughs wrestled when Burroughs was lighter than David, and they wrestled 4-4 on criteria.
Yeah, that was an exhibition match.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between an exhibition match between Burroughs and Askren, where Burroughs play wrestles and texts him real quick, and Burroughs and Taylor. I just don't think it's as black and white going down. I think there's more of a conversation to be had of him going up. But either way, that's...
Well, yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't know how JB feels. I know at times 63 has been a cut. That being said, I don't know how high he gets. And we've talked about this before. A lot of the times that people have struggled with weight, Gilman obviously didn't have a great cut, right? A lot of times when the people who struggle with weight and a bad cut, it's because they haven't made it in a long time. And so, you know, Jordan making 63 in Kazakhstan can only give him data.
Well, he's got +2.
That's fine. It's fine. It's better than... It's still going to give him...
I agree. It's just... You're talking 4 extra pounds. It's better than not making 76, but it's just for the fans listening, because there are some people asking. Another topic that's come up in this past week that I'm curious of your opinion on. Amit Elor is... So there's a couple things about her. Number one is that she is on track to go down as one of the absolute GOATs of the sport. Number two is, you know, we don't see what she's doing often.
We don't.
And part of what she's doing that not a lot of people do is typically the path is I'm going to make the highest team I can, and that's where I'm going. Amit Elor for the past 2 years has won 3 world championships. And some casual fans were commenting, I can't remember if it was the Facebook or my Instagram, like, how is it even possible? And it's like, well, she went at 3 different weight age classifications. And you don't typically see that. If you did, I'm sure we have a few who could do that. I still think it's an incredible feat. I don't think there's that many people who, even if they wanted to, could qualify for that many world championships, whether it's age, whatever it might be. I mean, she's only 19 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, there's no guys that could do that. I mean, who could have done that? Who could have not only made the team win worlds at all the age groups? Nobody could have done that. Who? None. There's nobody. Don't think about it too hard.
Well, I'm trying to.
Nobody could have done it.
The hardest thing now is obviously senior worlds, but some of these guys like Yanni could have won U20 and U23s in the same year. I think there's a couple of guys, but yeah, it's definitely it's one of those things we don't see often, where even somebody trying to do it, and she's trying to do it, and I don't.
Yeah, to me, it's refreshing. Listen, especially, I mean, the college season is a grind and a half, right? And so you go through the college season and then go through all the trials processes and then go through all the world championships. That is soul sucking. So, like, I sort of understand that. But when you are out of school, or you are not doing the college season, or you're gray shirting, or you're red shirting, why not try to make them all? Why not try to go to all the worlds? I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing otherwise?
And she did announce that she's going down to 68 for next year. So she's going to try to make 68, see how she feels. So as of now, the plan is to go down.
Who's the top dogs there? And that's good. I really like that.
I think Forrest Molinari's at. I think Forrest Molinari's at 68. Emma Bruntel, I think she was our world rep this year at 68. So I think she's gonna win the Olympics next year.
Well, I think it's best for our team. I think her going down is best for our team. Amit.
If she can stay healthy, what she can do is crazy. Like, she's won her 8th world title at 19 years old.
It's insane.
8th.
It's insane. Kyle won his first when he was 19, and we went nuts.
Right. Well, and he was the youngest ever.
He had won a junior before that, so his second career overall any age group title. He won his second, and Amit has 8 at that time.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I do think it would be interesting if any young cats are listening and you want to try to make a junior, U23, and senior team in the next couple of years, go for it. I think it's cool to see. Again, the path we normally see is make whatever the highest level you can make. You don't typically see where, okay, I can make seniors, I'm still going to do U20, U23. So I think if somebody can do it, go for it, because that is an incredible feat. You also had, did you see Haley Augello is returning after 4 years off?
I love it. Now, Sarah's been so great, but I like seeing Haley compete. Haley's great. He's a great person.
And somebody was asking me, like, isn't she older now? She's not even 30 yet. She retired young.
Yeah.
She's only 29 years old.
Yep. She was our 2016.
Yep. She was 2016 rep at 48 kilos.
Yep.
Yeah. So she's back. A lot of senior level stuff coming up this month too that will keep an eye.
She's been really active, right? She's been in, she didn't like retire and then go in to be a certified public accountant or something. She's been in the rooms nonstop, so she's been active.
Okay, I'm curious on your take on this. Speaking of public accountants and finance, you listened to the Zane interview.
Yeah.
I think there's a good shot he's done after next year.
I would almost be sure of it.
He's already got the internship locked in. He's a world champion. I think he's done after the Olympics or Olympic trials. I think so. And here's the thing. if Zane doesn't make the Olympic team, perfect place to retire. You're in state college.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about that, like, because you have like a lot of the relationships I do where that's gonna suck. You're gonna see a lot of shoes on the mat in April.
Oh, there's I talked about it before. We're gonna see a lot of send-offs.
Yeah.
And that goes for people that don't make the team in state college, and it goes for people that go to Paris. I think a lot of our guys are done.
I agree.
Which is sad, but also exciting at the same time. And I think a lot of them will go out on top. Yeah.
A lot of senior level stuff coming up that we'll talk on.
David's done, right? Like David's done.
I think so. I don't see a world where
David's done. JB will be done. I bet you Zane is done.
I don't know that Dake's not done.
I bet you Thomas is done. I don't know about Dake. Dake is reverse aging. Dake could win as many titles as, because he can go back down to juniors soon.
The thing with these older guys is I feel like as young as Dake feels right now, he's 32 years old. I think these guys think of their life in quads, you know, and it's, do I want to go towards LA 2028? It's not necessarily, we usually don't see it like, let me go get one more world title. Let me go get two more world titles. Usually it's, you know, that, who knows? I mean, Dake's got 4 Olympic golds, right? Or 4 world golds right now. He's still chased that Olympic gold. He's got the bronze, and then he's got the silver at the world. So
think about how sort of reinvigorating it'll be when these guys do retire. Like, we'll be left with questions. The media will be left with questions. The fans will be left with questions like, who takes over 86? Who takes over 74? Who takes over?
But I was thinking about it last night. After I got done recording with Carter, I was talking to him for a little bit. And, you know, Penn State fans, we talked about it on the show, Penn State fans are constantly in a fearing lull, or like a fear that there's going to be a lull with, oh my God, Taylor graduated, Bo graduated, Nolf graduated, Zane graduated. Yeah. And year after year, Penn State puts out another roster that they're like, oh my gosh, they're right back where they were. I think USA has that depth where we can do the same thing. I think it's going to be.
I think we do too. And I'm not necessarily saying that the results are going to be consistent with what we've seen. I'm not saying that, you know, USA Wrestling is going to continue winning team titles. But what I'm getting, number one, I'm with you. I think we're going to be fine. I do think we're going to be fine. I don't think we're going to drop off the map. But I'm saying some of these guys, think of the reinvigoration of a Zahid Valencia, who's like, okay, David's done. Now's my time. Or a guy like
Brooks.
A guy like Brooks, a guy like, I don't know, even Berger or David McFadden, who's like, okay, Burroughs and Dake are gone. Now it's my time, right? So just guys that seem to be stuck behind guys could now be the face.
Or you're also going to have, like, you've got guys coming up to the senior level that I think it's not going to be long until guys like Meyer Shapiro make a presence. I think you got a lot of young talent that as they make it to the senior level, you're going to have those guys that have been 2, 3, 4 in the ladder, that they're getting better, and at the same time getting better, these guys are retiring. That's a great equation. You also have these young cats coming up. I keep saying young cats. Somebody's going to bitch about that. But you have these young guys coming up that it's like the talent we have at the junior level right now, and even the cadet level, is crazy. And as that talent continues to come up, there's going to be a lot of competition at every weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So senior level, we have Pan Am Games this week. Only Olympic weights. It's not the Olympic qualifier. You've got Zane Richards, Nashawn Garrett, Tyler Berger, Mark Hall, Kyle Snyder, Mason Paris for men's freestyle, Audrey Jimenez, Samara Chavez. Who's replacing Helen?
Audrey's so good.
So good. Kayla
That's
Miracle,
so
Forrest Monari, Kennedy Blades all going for women's. That should be good. That's this week. Kazakhstan is this weekend. You've got Burroughs, McKenna, Yanni competing. And in Kazakhstan, you've got Bill Ferrell coming up in November.
I mean, I just like the fact, I mean, the biggest storyline to me is Jordan's back. He's down. He's competing. But is there any
they haven't released the entries yet. I haven't seen the entries. So I'm curious who's gonna be there.
Gotcha.
Because I know that they just had the Asian Games, which a lot of the international guys were at. There's a lot of different.
It's not like it is over here. Over here, Pan Am's, we like roll our eyes, right? Like I try not to, because I still think it's important, and I still think it's an accomplishment. I still think it's like, you won freaking 2 continents. But the Asian Games, they are like revered.
Wild. Yeah.
One time I went 2014 Worlds were in Uzbekistan. And I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but I'm sitting there watching, I look at the entries. And at that time, to be frank, I wasn't entirely knowledgeable about the way that senior level dynamics were. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Jason Bryant I was with, or somebody. It was somebody, who's knew the ropes. And I said, this guy from Japan is not here. That's crazy to me. And this guy that like medaled or was like 5th at Worlds is not here. He's not at the World Championships. And there might have been a female wrestler from Japan. And I was like, why is she not here? I'm like, and so I went and I asked somebody, I said, how come so many of the Asian people are not competing? And they said, the Asian Games are in 3 weeks or a month. And they're all going there. And I said, whoa. They're opting for Asian Games over the World Championships? And they're like, dude, you don't understand. They get a big sum of money for winning. That's very prestigious to these people.
I had asked about Bajrang. Bajrang wasn't at Worlds, and they're like, no, the plan's for him to go to Asian Games.
Right?
Because Asian Games were 2-3 weeks after Worlds,
and it's so heavily weighted to their culture. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that's, so we got Bill Ferrell in 2.5 weeks. I'm keeping an eye. We haven't really seen many registrations yet, but it's so exciting that college is back, and at the same time, it's such an exciting freestyle season. Like, I'm sure there's people right now listening that are like, shut up and just talk college. But going into the Olympic year, the freestyle season is so fun.
I'm with you. There, college rules the roost in this country, and people want talking heads to talk about college, and we will. But it's damn hard.
Some Sun Kiss registrations came in today. Mikey Labs is at 86 kilos at the Bill Ferrell. Eric Schultz will be there at 97 kilos. Josh Shields, 74 kilos. Christian Lance, 125 kilos. So it's nice. It looks like we're going to start seeing Tyler Berger's going at 74. So we're going to start Brandon Courtney at 57. Michael McGee, 65. So we're going to start. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's such a fascinating time for senior level. Level.
And college wrestling's here. We got dual meets in 2 days. We got.
But hey, did you see? First of all, I don't know how this works. The world is different from when I was a kid. I don't know, but a lot of
I
the
love
kids,
that I have no clue what direction this could go in. None.
well, yeah. There were several of the top flight kids that were at Super 32. Several of the champs that the next day or 2 days later, after winning Super 32, they're all at the OTC.
I saw Bo Bassett. Yeah.
And I'm like, what's up with school? You guys go, because weigh-ins were Friday, so you took that day off. You probably took Thursday off, and now it's Monday, and you're in Colorado. But Lockett was there. Bassett was there. This is all to say, one of the pictures was Bassett and Spencer. And so for a guy who's not been quite active, we know that Spencer's been training. He was in Japan. Now he's at the OTC. So he's getting on his horse. So, you know, we know that he's prepping for something. He's prepping for a run.
Yeah, he could be at the Ferrell, but if you're Spencer, I don't know that you really necessarily need to rush back for the Bill Ferrell. I mean, top 7 at senior national qualifies for the Olympic trials. I think that's all he really cares about. And it's not going to take much for Spencer to do top 7 at the senior nationals.
I agree, although what's the trade-off? I agree that he probably doesn't have to do both.
It simply depends on where he's at weight-wise, where he's at health-wise. The last time we saw him, you know, not what did he make it to, like the semis, and he's like, I can't do it.
Semis are open.
I would expect to see Spencer at senior nationals. I could be wrong. Somebody told me that Iowa might send a lot of guys to the Ferrell. If I'm Spencer, I'm an Iowa fan, I think I'm going to see him more international. Hit up some of these international tournaments because it's been a while for that.
Well, he's a guy you obviously don't want having reps, right? I mean, you want low reps on him. And so I'm thinking Ferrell might be an easier path to the Olympic trials than the U.S. Open.
Could be, but you have to win the Ferrell, which you have to win it.
You have to be the highest placing American.
Yes. Yeah.
Which could be the same thing, but yeah.
A lot of times it's one and the same.
Right.
Joseph Seeley's registered too, 74 kilos, by the way.
Lillidahl if Lillidahl's not registered, he will be. Is he registered yet, Lillidahl?
I'm going through him right now. Isaiah White's at 74. Let's see. No, I don't think he's registered yet. I heard he was going though.
I would be surprised if he wasn't there. I'm really interested to see how he can do.
By the way, I'll get ahead of this now because I always love tracking registrations and I throw them up my Rokfin, and everything I put up on Rokfin is under premium. You got to have an account because anything that comes in goes back into the sport. So you crybabies who don't want to pay for Rokfin to see the registrations, they're going to be everywhere. Go on USA Wrestling's membership website. You can go see them. They're only behind a paywall because I update them 30 times a day. If you don't want that, go to USA Wrestling membership website. You can see them. But I put them on my Rokfin. I'll track Bill Ferrell. I'll track senior nationals, and I am on my computer 24/7. So I check it 30 times a day so you don't have to. So I get the DMs from people, why are you putting that behind a paywall? That's why. Because of the effort I put in to check it 35 times a day and update it. But if you,
don't have to.
Yeah, if you don't, and the last couple of years, other people have started doing it, which is great. So Flow Wrestling, I'm sure, will start doing it. They did it a little bit last year. So I'm sure everybody's going to start tracking registrations. So don't hit me up with that. And by the way, go get a Rokfin account. You get to listen to Basch The Brain video, which is also on YouTube everywhere else. But
yeah, baby.
So, all right, yeah, college wrestling. Iowa wrestles Saturday. Penn State wrestles.
Hey, I got a nugget for you.
Ooh, give me a nugget.
I think might fit into the show. I mean, this is a show where we're bouncing all kinds of ideas off each other and hitting up topics basically that we haven't gotten to talk about in a while. But I was talking to some coaches this year at Super 32, and they are really concerned about a college rule. There's a new college rule this year, and it sounds like it's going to be a problem.
Let's hear it.
Get this. No dead time. There's no dead time, which means, Justin Basch, that Justin Basch gets in on a single leg on me, and we kind of work out of bounds, and there's close to being a takedown, and there's a scramble situation, and no points are called. I throw the challenge brick. It gets reviewed. Okay, yes, Justin had 2 at this point. But they continue to score the whole sequence. They continue to score the whole sequence. Do you see the problem in this? The problem is, if there was no takedown awarded, I'm going to do one thing. If there was a takedown awarded, I would have bellied down. Now they're going to score it and say, Justin had a takedown at this point, and look, Willie was exposed here, 1001, 1002. Okay, there's 2 backs. Well, I would have turned down. There's going to be problems. You watch. It's going to be a disaster.
You heard it here first. Yeah, I can see why that is a problem.
And, you know, I don't know how well I'm doing of explaining. I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining why it's going to be a problem, how pervasive it's going to be, or all the scenarios that could come up and it be a disaster and all the fans go, whoa, 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 whoa. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem.
Golden Nuggets, too. You were tweeting something about Oklahoma State. Something that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you trying to get me to spill the beans?
You know, no disrespect to Clay. Clay, if you're listening, I want you guys to put it out, but can you give the people a little Goldie Nuggie?
It's a foreigner.
I've heard
they had a foreigner on the hook last year for a long time. I don't know why. This is not the same person as I'm talking about now, but the person I'm talking about now is a foreigner as well, and it's all but a done deal. It's all but a done deal. It'll probably come out tonight or tomorrow.
By the way, Willie doesn't do a good job at promoting his own company, but when I mentioned wrestling coming up, Intermat has a D1 streaming guide. Earl does a great job. Lists what's coming up and where you can stream it, whether it's BTN Plus, somebody's YouTube, UFC Fight Pass, Flow, wherever it is. So intermatwrestle.com, and you can
frankly, I think that's a staple. You know, we have Intermat does a good job of doing a couple of staples that really you should bookmark, and everybody should always bookmark the live streaming guide. Number one, it tells you what's on tap for this week. It tells you what's streaming. It has links to. It's simple. You just hit the button and you go to it and you watch it live. There's another one for MMA guys. One of our guys always does wrestlers and MMA.
Yep.
And their upcoming fights, which is really good for somebody like me, who I'm not glued to MMA, but I will be if I know there's a wrestler on the card. So that's a pretty good one. But yeah. But hey, this guy that Oklahoma State is getting, I'll tell you this, he won senior nationals in a pretty good country.
Did I see? Now you got
and
me
he's
wondering,
17.
because I saw they put something out. I saw something today. What did I see today about a foreigner in Oklahoma State? Maybe that was their Hall of Fame. I saw something.
Yeah, he's there. The kid's there.
Oh, this was no, this was about the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
So the kid's there. He won senior nationals in his country, but he's still in high school. So he's flying back to his home, and then then he's wrestling for his country's Olympic trials in December. He'll graduate.
So he's wrestled freestyle his whole life, right? That's pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Wrestling freestyle your whole life, and then coming in to go compete for a college, it's folk style.
Yeah, and he would walk on the campus as a freshman next fall.
That's awesome. All right, well, stay tuned. Clay, you better get that out. Cowboy RTC, Oklahoma State Wrestling. I love that ever since I told Willie that Clay and the Cowboy RTC is a client of mine at Basch Solutions, Willie likes to send me photos of them drinking at every event.
I have a good time with Clay and those boys.
Clay's
they know
a great guy.
They know how to do it. He was at him and the boys were at the U.S. Open this year, having a good old time.
Where are you going? Are you going to any tournaments soon?
I have a big dual meet I'm streaming. There's a really, really great kind of good story team from Pennsylvania. They won the state title last year in AA. They're called Faith Christian Academy. They're just outside of the Lehigh Valley. But they basically came out of nowhere to be a giant force, and it's all like this homegrown. And now some people like to say it's not homegrown because this kid is from a different school district 5 miles away. But listen, it's homegrown. They're all from right there, right? But they won a PA title last year, like well before anybody thought they could do it, because the entire team is freshman and sophomore. The entire team. I mean, put it this way: they had an 8th grader go to Fargo and take 3rd. He went to Super 32 as a freshman and took 3rd or 4th. I mean, they're that good. And anyway, so I have them on December 1st against Wyoming Seminary, which is a pretty cool duel. And so,
are you sneaking up to the Ferrell?
I might have to go to that. I would like to find an announcer so that I didn't have to go to Sem Faith Christian, only because, not because I don't want to be there, but only because I'm on the West Coast now and I have never, ever been to Cliff Keen.
Ooh.
And it would be nice to go there.
Yeah. I forgot that's coming up. What's that? Like the first weekend in December, right?
December 1st and 2nd, or 2nd and 3rd, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, I am freaking excited for college wrestling. Are you going to be a little bit easier now to for us to get in the cadence of some shows now that
Oh yeah,
32
I'm back.
is done? And okay,
I'm back. That's probably the most inundated I'll be all year.
Heck yeah, because we got to do coming up. We'll do a crystal ball review show, which will kind of preview the season. I think those go hand in hand together. Somebody was DMing me like, when are you gonna do a preview show? And I'm like, honestly, crystal ball is kind of like that. You're kind of
so
talking about performance. And
I just got done with national high school rankings. They're up. I just published them just before the show. I haven't even hit social with them yet, but now we're gonna have a good break between high school. There ain't going to be nothing. There's going to be nothing in high school from now until the first week of December, and then Ironman. And so my next task is crystal ball. I'll do the crystal ball, put it on the Mat Scouts, and then we'll do a show recapping that. That'll also serve as a preseason preview. So that's what we'll do.
All right, West Coast Willie. That's about all I got. You got any final golden nuggies?
No, that's all I got for now off the top of my head. Pay attention to that rule, though, and do a deep dive into it. See what you can dig up. I think there might be a problem with it, and I think the people on the rules committee, to my knowledge, have already said, yeah, it's going to be a problem. So we'll see.
The fans will not hold back. I can promise you that. As soon as it becomes a problem, everybody will hear about it. So, All right, that's the show. Go subscribe. Go leave a comment. Go subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rokfin, wherever you watch it. This is going to be available on both the Baschamania Rokfin and the Matt Scouts Rokfin. So wherever you want to go consume it, we don't care. Just enjoy. Tweet us where you think we were wrong. Tweet us. If you have questions for the college preview show, tweet us. And I'll try to start keeping track of some of those questions, and we'll try to get to some of those during the season. Do I think Penn State's going to win the national team title? Yes. Skip that question. All right, that's Baschamania 211. We'll be back soon.
And the beat goes on.